Happening now, a group of juveniles in Jamestown will face charges after allegedly stabbing a man in the head. Plus, why snow days may be no more.
Well, the clouds have thickened up today, but some cooler air is going to be on the way. How cool? I'll talk about it next as the news at noon starts right now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now on this Thursday. I'm Justin Gould. Charges are pending against a group of juveniles who police say stabbed a man during a reported fight in Jamestown last night. Jamestown police say around 6:20 officers responded to the fight in the area of Franklin Street. Police say an adult male was found with a laceration to his head. Officers say that man alleged several juveniles used a sharp instrument to cut him following a separate altercation with that group. Police report the man was treated for his injuries at the scene. Detectives say charges against the juveniles are pending further investigation. Now, anyone who may have information on this incident is asked to contact the Jamestown Police Department at 483-7537. The number again is 483-7537. And 2 men were seriously hurt and several others injured after sheriff's deputies say an elderly man from Salamanca caused a crash on I-86 in Cattaraugus County yesterday. The Cattaraugus County Sheriff's Office says a Dodge Dakota pickup truck operated by the elderly man rear-ended a 2020 Ford Edge that was stopped on the eastbound right shoulder of the highway for a mechanical issue around 12:40. Deputies say the pickup truck spun out of control before crashing to a stop, while the Ford was forced off the shoulder, going through the grass and into a wooded area nearby. The elderly man and 2 occupants of the SUV were taken by ambulance to Olean General Hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The 2 others of the 4 occupants in the Ford were taken via medical helicopter to Erie County Medical Center for serious injuries. I-86 between exit 15, Schoolhouse Road, to exit 20 in Salamanca was closed for several hours while crews worked the scene. The crash is separate from a fatal collision that happened on the westbound lane of that highway just hours later. A procedural motion to advance a Republican-led COVID-19 stimulus bill is expected to be voted on in the Senate today. But as John Lawrence reports, this measure may not get very far as Democrat leaders have been voicing opposition.
Last month, talks about a stimulus bill to boost the U.S.'s COVID-19 stricken economy collapsed due to partisanship. Not much has changed since then.
We've just been waiting and waiting for our Republican friends to get their act together.
It's just silly season on the Democratic side. They've run out of excuses not to legislate.
The so-called skinny bill from Senate Republicans calls for $300 a week in enhanced jobless benefits, extends the Paycheck Protection Program, and provides $105 billion in education funds. The near $500 billion bill does not include stimulus checks or additional state aid.
Do you want to do something? Or do you want to do nothing?
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer have been calling for a $2.2 trillion stimulus plan, but that was rejected by the White House.
Leader McConnell isn't searching for bipartisan progress. He seems to be looking for political cover.
While this battle rages on in Washington, D.C., many Americans are hoping for some sort of compromise.
It's a political football game, and they're playing with people's lives. All right. And it's wrong. Whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, whether you're an independent, they have to get something done.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
John, thank you. The GOP measure needs 60 votes to move past a Democrat filibuster, but it's not expected to get that many. Meanwhile, Congressman Tom Reed says his office has taken a strong role in those ongoing negotiations as the second COVID-19 stimulus package gets worked out. Reed spoke with reporters during his weekly media conference yesterday, and he tells us that he's been in direct contact with the stakeholders at the White House, the Senate, and the House.
Our primary goal has been to try to get these folks to get back in the room talk to each other, because the only way we're going to find true common ground is to communicate and be in that room to negotiate this out.
Reed says the House is scheduled to return to the nation's capital next Monday. Well, we thank you all for joining us here for WNY News Now on this Thursday. Let's check in with the comments and say hello to Chelsea. Good to see you on the show. Good to see Patty, Thomas, Justin, Susan, Laura, and David. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you tuning in every day for a check of your local news and weather. Now, let's get a check of that weather forecast. Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter is standing by with that now. Happy Thursday to you, Dakota.
Happy Thursday, Justin. And in the words of Colin Mockery, nice segue. Anyway, anybody who's watched Who's Line will definitely get that. Hey, so close to the end of the week. Here's a live look coming from Salamanca from the top of the Seneca Allegheny Casino. Clouds are starting to filter in across the western counties. The eastern counties still have a little bit of sunshine, 74 at the camera site. No wind to speak of there, but the dew point's still up a little bit today, and that's going to continue to be the factor through the day. Now, through the afternoon today, more clouds are going to fill in, as I just told you. So from west to east, expect more clouds. In fact, clouds are already starting to be on the increase here in town already. 72 at the lake, 81 inland north wind, averaging about 6 to 12 miles per hour. In fact, you can see it on the satellite imagery. You can see this little blob right here. I'm not so sure that was actually falling. I believe this might have been just some stuff in the upper layers of the atmosphere that's being returned on radar, because this was not actually reported anywhere. But you can see the clouds starting to thicken up west to east, and that's going to continue through the day. So hey, if you want to get out on the lake today, 74 is the current water temp off Buffalo, 72 off Erie, north wind 5 to 10 knots, and wave heights less than a foot or less. So it's going to be great for the boaters, maybe not for the sailboaters, because they want a little bit more wind than that. But the fall air, as we've been telling you about, is going to continue, and it's going to get really, I don't want to say chilly, but definitely pumpkin spice. We'll talk about it in a few, Justin.
That's a good way to describe it. Pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
Why not? Dakota, thank you. The New York State Public High School Athletic Association says that football, volleyball, and competitive cheer fall seasons are going to be postponed until March to address concerns associated with the novel coronavirus. In a statement last night, the group's executive director says after speaking with nearly 500 athletic directors across the state, his organization came to that tough decision. As a result of the move, the start date for the spring sports season has been moved from March 15th to April 19th. Low and moderate risk fall sports practices are still allowed and scheduled to begin September 21st for those schools and sections who have determined it's safe and feasible for them. Sports include girls tennis, cross country, girls swimming and diving, boys and girls soccer, and field hockey will all be able to get underway. Well, New York State is giving school districts the choice to get rid of snow days. The Department of Education says districts could switch to remote learning when they would normally cancel classes due to winter weather. Education leaders will evaluate the policy after the school year and then decide whether to keep it moving forward. Remote learning is now standardized in many districts statewide due to gathering concerns surrounding this COVID-19 pandemic. Well, coming up next, we tell you about the millions of dollars Chautauqua County has received to boost the local economy. And later, we get a check of your full First Defense weather forecast. Stay with us as WNY News Now continues.
With coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now. EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
I grew up in a single-parent home. We were raised by my mom in a one-bedroom apartment in Queens, and I slept in what was supposed to be a dining room just off the kitchen. We were poor and fell behind in our bills. More than once, our electricity was shut off and there were eviction notices taped to our door. I remember walking into our kitchen and finding my mother standing by the stove, crying to herself because she didn't know what to do and felt helpless. I was about 9 or 10 when our apartment was robbed. I remember arriving home with my mother and brother and finding the door open, feeling confused because the first thing I saw was that our television, a set which forever sat on a stand in the living room, was missing. I know firsthand what it's like to be a victim, to be assaulted, robbed, to have things taken from you which you're never going to get back, and to be scarred by experiences which 30 and 40 years later still haunt me. We're lucky enough to live in Chautauqua County where by and large we feel safe, but unfortunately bad things do happen here. I want to be the district attorney who personally prosecutes the most serious crimes and who's there for victims every step of the way. These are the people I want to represent, to fight for their justice, to fight for our justice in the courtroom, to help people who have suffered at the hands of others. This is why I want to be your district attorney.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back to WNY News Now. This just in, we want to make you aware of a new boil water order that has been issued here in Chautauqua County. The County Health Department has issued this order for those living in the village of Fredonia. Officials say the order went into effect just minutes ago and will remain in place until further notice. The reason why is because during a routine check for cloudiness, workers determined that the water may have some disease-causing bacteria. We have the full order posted right now at WNYNewsNow.com. Well, Chautauqua County has received over $10 million in COVID-19 relief funding. Officials with the U.S. Department of Commerce announced the news during an event at the Chautauqua Harbor Hotel in Celeron yesterday. Now, specifically, $10.5 million from the CARES Act will go to support the CCIDA in supporting local COVID-19 recovery efforts. That agency says they will use the money to establish a new revolving loan fund to provide capital in the form of low-interest loans to both businesses and nonprofit organizations. The Chautauqua County Executive, P.J. Wendell, says that at the start of this pandemic, the CCIDA has pushed to have funding to support businesses struggling due to the virus's economic impacts.
I think it's only fitting to sit there and listen. The largest amount given here in the state of New York, or this our region rather, $10.5 million. I can tell you right now that $10.5 million will be leveraged and utilized many times over, and businesses who may leave Chautauqua County will be able to stay here, will be able to prosper, will be able to use our lake, will be able to provide for their families for decades and futures.
Now, if you remember, Congress doled out $150 billion to states and local municipalities back in March, aimed at keeping smaller towns and businesses afloat. Those looking to apply are asked to contact the CCIDA at ccida.com. The number of workers filing for first-time unemployment benefits did not change between last week and the week prior. The Labor Department's new report shows another 884,000 Americans filed for initial jobless assistance last week. Now, that's the seasonally adjusted number. Without it, the weekly number of initial claims was actually slightly lower, but it had increased from the prior week. Another 838,000 workers who didn't qualify for traditional unemployment filed for benefits under the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. Meanwhile, 13.4 million American workers filed claims for unemployment insurance for at least 2 weeks in a row. That's up slightly from the previous week, and it's not a great sign for jobs recovering. The Labor Department says in the week ending of August 22nd, nearly 30 million Americans were claiming some sort of government benefit. Well, President Donald Trump is defending his response to the COVID-19 pandemic after recordings from February show the president wanted to downplay the dangers of coronavirus to the American public. Those audio recordings obtained by CNN are detailed in veteran journalist Bob Woodward's new book, a book the president calls a political hit job. Daryl Forges is at the White House with the latest.
New audio recordings of President Donald Trump putting the early days of the coronavirus response into the spotlight. Speaking to journalist Bob Woodward for a book set to be released next week, the president in February appeared to acknowledge the threat of the coronavirus in audio obtained by CNN.
It goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. You know, the touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus.
During that same time in public, the president said the disease was very much under control and cases would disappear. As of Wednesday, the U.S. has over 6.3 million known cases of COVID-19. The president also told Woodward this in March.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
sure, I want you to.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.
It's just another political hit job. But whether it was Woodward or anybody else, you cannot show a sense of panic, or you're going to have bigger problems than you ever had before.
Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden went right after President Trump.
He knew how dangerous it was. And while this deadly disease ripped through our nation, he failed to do his job on purpose.
I think we've done from every standpoint a incredible job.
In Washington, I'm Daryl Forges.
Daryl, thank you. President Trump was not the only leader to downplay the COVID-19 pandemic at the start of its outbreak. New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo, among others, told reporters back in February not to panic at the discovery of the new virus. Well, Congressman Tom Reed joined several Republican politicians to cut the ribbon on the party's downtown Jamestown campaign office last night. Reed was joined by New York State Senator George Borrello, Assemblyman Andy Goodell, Chautauqua County Executive P.J. Wendell, County Legislator Lisa Vanstrom, and Jamestown City Councilman Brent Sheldon, among others. The congressman is running for re-election now against Democrat Tracy Matrano for New York's 23rd Congressional District's House of Representatives seat. Reed was first elected in 2010 and boasts his accessibility by conducting over 250 town halls across all 11 counties in his district, which is about the size of New Jersey. He's a member of the Ways and Means Committee and co-chairs the Problem Solvers Caucus. The new 2nd Street headquarters will serve as the campaign offices for not just Reed, but all GOP candidates here in the county. Well, we thank you for joining us for WNY News Now on this Thursday. Hopefully everybody's having a great day. We appreciate you so much sticking with us. Got to say hello to Kim, Timothy, Lisa, and Bridget as well. Hopefully you're all having a good day. Thanks so much for joining in here. Good to see Nathan and Keith. Let us know what you're thinking about in the comments below by simply engaging, and we'll certainly get back to you if you have something good to say. Let's get over to this First Defense weather forecast now, though, with Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. And as we mentioned earlier, D, everybody's looking forward towards the pumpkin spice season. I know there's so many products out there. Our local Tim Hortons the other day, I got the new pumpkin spice donut. Yeah. And it's just, you could literally OD on pumpkin spice nowadays. It's everywhere.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of pumpkin spice, but I mean, you know, The season's coming, and the fall colors, definitely we'll be talking about the fall foliage here pretty soon. Hey, let's take a live look downtown from on top of the DoubleTree Hotel, and you can see the clouds are starting to filter in from west to east, as I told you about earlier. 68's our current temperature, but overcast skies are currently at the airport north of the city. Got a north wind of 7. This north wind is going to be the factor over the next couple of days, why it is going to be getting cooler, and the dew point's still up at 65 degrees. So, hey, we managed 82 degrees yesterday, and again, we had a stalled front across the area, so further to the north, temperatures were cooler. Further to the south, it warmed up quite a bit. We bottomed out at 61 this morning. 92, record high for this date, set all the way back in 2002. The last time I had a proper night's sleep was in 2002, and 30 degrees is the record low for this date, set back in 1984. And fall air is going to be prevalent here. 76 today. Look at tomorrow, 68 degrees. We go back into the 70s Saturday and Sunday. We bottom out at 65 next Monday. Even though we're going to have a lot of sunshine both Friday and Monday, I think a strong northerly wind component is going to help keep our temperatures really down. Since we're talking about the fall air, it's only fitting we continue the countdown to all of our fall and winter the holidays here. 12 days until the official start of fall, 51 until Halloween, 77 until Thanksgiving, and 106 until Christmas. So we're going to keep counting those days down for you because we're all looking ahead to those holidays here. So the stationary front we had across the region yesterday has finally moved its way down to the south. So that is why we have a northerly wind component today. The cooler air is starting to win over the warmer air, so it's shoving this front further to the south, and all of this rain is actually associated with the northern part of the front. You can see actually where the frontal boundary is, because where that dome of clear sky is, that's where the frontal boundary is. Now, this is something you might be hearing about. Tropics are getting active. Today is statistically the peak of hurricane season, this particular date. We have 2 tropical systems out here, basically in the Atlantic Basin. We have Renee and Paulette, these 2 storms out here. And the good news is these 2 storms are going to curve out into the open Atlantic. No threat to the United States, but the Hurricane Center is watching a wave off, basically a wave off the Carolinas and another wave in the Gulf of Mexico. But the other problem is we're running out of hurricane names. We have Paulette and Renee that are currently active. We have Sally, Teddy, Vicky, and Wilfred left. And should we get to Wilfred, the Hurricane Center will switch to the Greek alphabet, and that'll be the first time since the very active hurricane season of 2005 where they had to go to the Greek alphabet. So, tropics active. Zone forecast. Temperatures today, this might be a bit overdone. Again, clouds are starting to come in now, but I will say lower to mid 60s are definitely possible through the day with more clouds than sun. How about the future? The next 7 days are on the screen. 68, best we'll be able to do tomorrow, but at least the sun will make it feel a little bit warmer. 74 on Saturday, late day thunder shower, not really concerned with that. Better chance of rain is going to be Sunday, 75. Sweatpants weather Monday and Tuesday with temperatures in the mid to upper 60s, but we do return to at least a little bit of normal on Wednesday with sunny skies and mid 70s. We'll take a break and be right back. Want weather now? Download the WNY News Now mobile app and stay up to date on severe weather alerts. Plus, anytime hazardous weather strikes, stick with the Southern Tier's only 24/7 streaming network that keeps you safe. You're all in a tornado warning, so now is the time to go to a safe place, small room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows. What are you waiting for? Download the WNY News Now mobile app today. It's free in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
There's an old saying, there's no news in the newsroom. Well, it's true. The time I spend at the anchor desk is just part of my day. Most of our time is spent gathering stories in the community, stories that matter to you. We can't do it alone, and we need your help. When you see breaking news or have a news tip we should know about, drop us a line on Facebook today, email our news desk, or call our newsroom at 488-7226 so we can bring those stories straight back to you.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back. A local business has donated health and safety supplies to Jamestown High School to help keep students and teachers safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. Jamestown Public Schools says Everyday's True Value Hardware on Foote Avenue donated hand sanitizer, N95 masks, hand soaps, and cleaners, part of the True Values Foundation's Educational Heroes campaign. High school principal Tom Langworthy says the supplies will go a long way to help keep the school clean and ultimately the students healthy. Now, though the Educational Heroes Act, over 700 schools across the country have received health and safety kits to help educators and staff in schools. Certainly a great donation, and it's just another reason that this place is such a great place to call home. Hopefully everyone's having a good day. We thank you so much for joining us here for WNY News Now. Got to say hello to Vicky, Lisa, Bridget, Ann, and Justin. Hopefully you're all having a good one. We thank you for sticking with us. And Dakota, as a proud Jamestown High School alumni yourself, I'm sure it's great to see that donation. And really, when you think about it, when you look at all the schools around and the community organizations, it seems like everybody's trying to give back one way or another here.
Yeah, and especially the high school, we do a lot of the sort of like the community stuff, like, for example, Penny Wars, all the money raised for that goes to a certain cause in the community. Battle of the Classes, all the money raised for that, for tickets and whatnot,
so
all of that.
It's a big circle, really. Everybody's always giving back. You know, give to the school, they give back to the community through their volunteer efforts, and it's good to see. And I think that's what makes our area great, is that, compared to the rest of the world, you leave Western New York, and there isn't always that sense of community because the communities are so big. Where here, people do know each other. And I think anytime, God forbid, you have a horrible disaster, whether someone passes away in an accident or there's a house fire, people always come together. And this COVID-19 pandemic has been no different, right? We've come together through this disaster, and as a journalist, I try not to get too involved into the politicians, CHQ strong type of message. But it's true, though. If we can stay together, as not just Chautauqua County, but Western New York, the whole area, we stay together, we get through this, and we will. And I think that's the biggest thing. And it's like yesterday, I was getting my hair cut, right? Totally different process than it was 6 months ago. You got the mask, you got the sanitizer, the whole nine. And we were talking about...
Do they have to wear gloves when you're cutting?
Yeah.
I thought so.
A lot of places, there's a real strict protocol. And the thing is, it's like when you look at how society has changed, we talked about it with news. There were a couple other people in there who were, they know I'm a news reporter, and they're talking to me. I mean, get the ear of Justin Gould. I don't think it's that great, but they did. And it's like, why is there so much COVID news? Can we listen to other stuff? And it's like, well, we try, but every story somehow is connected to COVID-19.
Right.
And
because some things are different, like, for example, they have different regulations, different rules, like 6 feet or masks are required and all that stuff. So it's like, everything we do today is kind of kicking back to COVID-19. And, that's just sort of either, that's just the reality.
Good
of
or
it at
bad,
the moment.
it's the reality.
Yeah.
And I think, like I've always said this, what's it my place to judge? I mean, are the masks annoying? Yeah, they are. But I understand why we have to do it. And some people, say, oh, well, this is fake, whatever. And at the end of the day, I think we'll eventually get through this. And either way, it's just so remarkable. And as a news reporter, my thing is to, we're documenting history every day. And this is something that has changed the lives of so many, good and bad as well. There is a lot of remarkable stories where people have done better because of the changes that have been made.
The one thing I keep telling people is something good is going to come off the back end of this. And, life as we knew it 6 months ago, I don't think it'll ever be that way again. I think life is going to be drastically different going forward, but the drastically different life will likely be better in many key areas. I think we'll take a better approach to health and sanitation. I don't think like for example, the one example that I tell people all the time is maybe we'll see less crowded places, like for example at a movie theater or at like a concert venue where the seats are so small for people like me who's as big as a hippo. You barely fit into one of those small
But
theater
you're right,
seats.
though. I think that's what's going to change our life, is the fact that things will be different, and hopefully for the better. But I think we've noticed just here in our newsroom, right? Sanitation has been better. It's been clean. And not that we haven't had that before, but I think now it's at the top of the minds of people. And it's like Walmart. I was grossed out by it before. I'm willing to say that. It's kind of a gross place sometimes. And I don't like to shop there because it doesn't really go back into the local community. That's a different soapbox for a different day. But it's like, finally, for once, it's a little bit nicer. How much nicer, I don't know. But that's it for us today. Thanks for hanging out. And, as always, news continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com. We're back tomorrow with our TGIF edition, and we'll have a new furry friend, part of our Pet of the Week segment. Hope to see you then.